I had a second phone. Like I have a work phone and a personal phone, and for whatever reason, my personal phone was like, Instagram doesn't have access to your camera. I'm like, I'm on Instagram every day, so I don't know how that is possible, but we figured it out.
I swear it's just Murphy's Law
I know,
sometimes, you know?
100%.
Like you want it to work, so it's not going to.
Exactly.
Um, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of the podcast, so I feel privileged to get to be on it.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. It's like ever since I switched to this format, it's just opened it up for a ton more people. It used to be come to the
Yeah,
studio and whenever you're in town. Now it's just like so fun. So I love it.
I love it. And I'm a big fan of Instagram, so it's fun to have it on here, but then also recorded where people can listen just as a podcast as well.
Yeah, it's great. Phones eat first always. So here we go.
Yep.
Okay, Brittany, how did you get started?
Gosh, okay. I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version because it's kind of been a long random journey. But
Okay, but wait, let's take the whole journey.
okay,
I swear, I want
we'll
to
take
hear
the
it
whole
all.
journey.
Yes, I would love to hear it all.
So I feel like I was always entrepreneurial. I mean, as a kid, like me and my older sister would do like summer camps for kids at home. We did like a paper route. We were always like finding ways to make money. Anyway, I went to college at Brigham Young University and I got my degree in marketing, which I loved. At that time, social media was not a thing. Like, I got my first Facebook account when I was in college, and it was like you had to have a college email address. So, how we were taught marketing in college was, very different than marketing is now because Instagram didn't exist, social media didn't exist as it was. But I just was so interested in that field. I loved it. So it was a fun degree to get. And then after college, I actually worked for the Mrs. Fields corporate office, which was super fun. I was in their marketing department and I got to learn how to like make all the cookies, and they owned like Pretzel Maker and Pretzel Time. And so I got to learn how to make pretzels and travel around to different stores. And it was a super fun kind of corporate environment in the marketing world. And I was in that job for a couple years. And then I had my first daughter and wanted to stay home with her. And I think I thought, I mean, she was a very good baby. She slept a ton, but I think I anticipated becoming a mom was going to fill all my time, and it didn't take all my time. Like she slept a lot. She was a great baby. And so I just kind of found myself sitting around like twiddling my thumbs like, okay, what do I do now? Like I'm a mom and I love that, but I really wanted a creative outlet as well. And I missed being in the workforce, but also wanted to stay home. So it was this tricky thing. Even back then, it wasn't super common that there wasn't a lot of opportunities to work from home. Like this was back in 2008. So like social media still wasn't really a big thing. Working from home was not really a big thing. So randomly, I started making swimsuits for people of all the things. Like I loved sewing. I started making my own
Why is it
swimsuits.
hard to sew?
I know they are, but it was like I got special needles and I figured out how to sew these swimsuits. And so I I kind of just fell into this business of like making custom swimsuits. And I would do parties where I would like make all of these samples. I'd go to people's houses, they'd have their friends come, they'd try on these suits and say, okay, I like this one, but I want it to be adjusted in this way. I want this fabric. So it was really fun. But I ended up doing it for a couple years and kind of realized, okay, I am sewing all the time in the summer. And we just lived in this basement apartment. I had my sewing area set up. I was making swimsuits all the time. And I was kind of getting burned out on the sewing part of it. So I thought I either need to just drop this business or I need to get the swimsuits manufactured somehow. And that felt super overwhelming. But I feel like once you start, like you have so many connections in life that you just don't realize until you start talking about things. But my sister-in-law's dad had a connection in Taiwan that, helped him like connect to all these different manufacturers overseas. So she got me in contact with him. And anyway, I ended up getting these swimsuits manufactured, and they were probably just laughing because I literally was sending them these like paper uh these like paper cutouts of like, okay, these are all the different sizes. I didn't know how to use any pattern making software. So they made my swimsuits for a couple years. And anyway, we ended up switching to a couple different manufacturers. I took a year off and I realized I love having a business, but like I am not passionate about this. I am not passionate about swimsuits. I'm not passionate about like what I'm doing, but I loved doing something. So I took a year off and kind of brainstormed with my husband like, okay, I like having a business, I like doing something on the side, I like the creative outlet. If we could do anything, like what do we want to do? And so my mom, who's like super amazing at celebrating and holidays, had just made all of the grandkids these holiday pillowcases. And so I thought, this is amazing, but like she's limited to the, holiday fabrics that are at Joann. And what if we like had a designer actually create some really cute holiday fabrics and we do this holiday pillowcase subscription? Like I just thought it was this genius idea and I loved it so much. So we took basically all the money that we had made from doing these swimsuits for 7 years, hired a designer to design these holiday prints, found a manufacturer to sew all of these pillowcases, and that process took like a little over a year. And then we launched a business that was about selling these holiday pillowcases. And I did not want to be the face of the business. I was so hesitant to like be in front of the camera. I wanted it to be about the products. I didn't want it to be me. So I started selling the products. It was kind of slow going, and I didn't have like a ton of content to share around just these pillowcases. So I started hopping on Instagram and just sharing other kind of mom related content. Here's an easy recipe I made with my kids, or here's something we did with for this holiday. And over the course of, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 months, I realized, okay, we're selling pillowcases, like we're moving through some inventory, but people are coming to Instagram for that content that I was sharing because it was just very simple, doable, practical ideas for moms. And so it took me a while to realize, okay, the products are not it. The content is it. Like, this is what people are wanting, and this is what I'm actually like, what I have to give that's unique. And I almost feel like it had to start that way because I never would have started just a content based business. And so I think the product like got me into it, but we ended up just selling through that content and going like strictly, or we sold through the product and then went strictly content for a couple years. And now we're doing products again, as far as like cookbooks and other products that like calendar, things that simplify mom life, but they're more practical based products versus I feel like we started with novelty products. So it's kind of come full circle again. And I do love creating products. I think there's just something so rewarding about having an idea in your mind and seeing it come to fruition. Um, but that is the long story. That's how we got to where we are today.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So when you started, was it like when you started doing the content, was it like, all right, I need to move these pillowcases, so I guess I'll be the face of it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was very reluctant and I still a little bit have, I mean, now I've totally embraced it. But yeah, we had a big sell. We sold through all of our inventory. And at this point, we lived in Texas and we had just built a bunch of shelves in our garage. So it wasn't like we had a warehouse, like we were shipping out all the product ourselves. And it was like, okay, I got to the point where I just realized the amount of time I was spending doing all the back end stuff for the products and like shipping out the product. I realized my time is better spent creating content because that's what people want. And I was starting to get like some collaboration offers and starting to realize there was a world of affiliates out there. So I just realized my time is going to be better spent building this business, creating the content. So let's just sell through what we have and pivot to content only.
Are you an introvert?
It's hard to say. I'm kind of my husband for sure is, which no one would believe because he's like life of the party. I feel like I get energy from being around people, but being around a small number of people. Like I have a very tight circle of like my people. I get drained from being in big groups of people, but I do love like I was just talking to some high school friends about this because it's like everyone's so different as we get to this middle age of our life where it's like, are you people that just want to be alone as a couple? Do you love being with another couple? Do you love hanging out with just other women? And my husband and I both love hanging out with like one or two other couples. Um, so I'm a small group person. So I don't know if that makes me an introvert or an extrovert, maybe a little bit of both. But I like small
Probably
groups.
just someone who knows what they like,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
I just, when I met you, I think I this is always jarring for me when I meet influencers, and you kind of are a reluctant influencer, I would
For
say.
sure.
Um, but a lot of influencers are introverts who are okay just talking to the
Yeah.
camera, and sometimes it's born out of necessity. Sometimes it's born out of I really like my own company, and so I don't mind just talking to myself or whatever it is. But I would say you were more reserved than I imagined you would be when I met you.
Interesting. Yeah. I definitely feel like that. I would say I was like a pretty shy child. Um, but I'm just, yeah, I'm more quiet until I get to know people, I guess, and not like loud life of the party type personality.
So
Which, like you said, a lot of influencers are actually like
a
that, and it's
lot,
surprising to some
a
people.
lot of people. What did you feel like you had to overcome some stuff to like? So how does the exposure? We're totally off right now. But
No,
how
let's
does
go
all
with
the
it.
exposure? How does it go for you in your head? Are you able to just disconnect from it, or did you struggle with it for a while, or we're so
Yeah,
far off? I'm sorry.
I feel like it took me a while to get on board with it. And I even still shy away a little bit from the from being called an influencer. And maybe part of that, maybe that is part of the reason why I wanted to be like home and kind and I never wanted it to just be my name because I want it. And I don't that's just my own personal issues, I guess, but I feel like there's certain things associated with an influencer that made me reluctant to want to be labeled as that just because I never wanted to make it just about me. I don't like sharing a ton of personal stuff about like my kids or my life or everything we're doing. Um, More, I wanted to share like valuable content for other people, which also made me realize we also need influencers like that. Like we need, that's maybe what makes me a little more unique in what I share is that it's about the other person, like it's about the viewer. But for sure, and a lot of it, as you know, like just comes with practice. Like when you're on camera every day, you get really used to doing that. And I was awkward at first. And I still remember when I first started showing up on camera, and I had this just cute friend who had gotten her degree in journalism. And she was like, the content you're sharing is so great on Instagram. And she's like, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but you need to smile more. Like you kind of look like you're mad when you're sharing stuff. And I was like, I was so grateful for that feedback because I was just starting out and I was kind of talking as if you just would to a friend or a family member, which is good. You want to talk personal, but I was like, okay, I need to be like slightly leveled up just so that I'm not like, how was your day? Tell me about it. I'm going to tell you about this meal. Like I needed to have a little bit higher of energy. So just practice has made me more comfortable doing it. And, you get better and better over the years.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have a exit button that you want to push?
It's a good question. I don't want to do it forever. I
Sure.
don't want to be on camera for the next 20 years, but it's hard because I also have grown to love it. And I feel like I'm actually pretty good at it, even though I would have never set out to do it in the first place. But it's a lot when you're showing up every day on camera. It's like, okay, how I feel like I do a pretty good job of keeping a boundary so I don't get burned out. So I'm not burned out currently. And I know a lot of influencers like who I talk to in person are super burned out and they just feel like they're oversharing and they get a lot of anxiety around it. I feel like I have not hit that point and hopefully I don't. Um, but I think the exit strategy is actually part of our business strategy, which is we've started wholesaling our cookbooks in different retail locations, and it's been so fun to start that just over the last 6 months. And I hired a salesperson, which her whole job is just to get our cookbooks into retail locations. And it's gone super well. And that's been really exciting for me because I'm like, that runs totally independent of me. Like that, those people who are ordering those cookbooks, they don't know me. Like they're not following me on Instagram. The books can sell on their own. And so that's exciting to me because I'm like, that's like a long-term strategy. That's a long-term business thing that we can keep running if I get to the point where I'm like, okay, peace out. I don't want to be on camera anymore. Like I need a break. So that's kind of my exit strategy currently.
Okay, I love it. I always have an exit strategy, and then my husband's like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'll start another business." I know,
I'll
like,
figure it out.
yes, I know I'll start another business, but
Yeah.
like, let me dream.
Yep.
Um, okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the boundaries you've built and how have you always been good at boundaries, or do you feel like that was like learned, or how did you get there? Because I think no matter what you're doing, I feel like I hate the word balance, but as a working mom and someone who started my career also on the internet, I feel like there is this like, um, you kind of have to finesse it a little bit. And so, where did your boundaries come from?
It's interesting, and I've thought a lot about this because often I feel like the things that come easiest to you are like the hardest to like quantify, like your superpower, you feel like, how do I even describe this? It just comes easily to me. And I feel like boundaries is one of those things. And I think I'm naturally a pretty confident person, and I'm pretty good at not um well, I mean, there's always stress, but I feel like I know when I'm about to hit the point of like I've taken on too much, or I'm, like you said, balance is not perfect, but um I feel like treating my business as a business from the start allowed me to keep a line between like my personal life and business life, so that it was like, okay, when my kids are in school during these 5 hours, those are my work hours. So that's the boundary. And, sometimes I'm still working once they get home or after they go to bed or whatever. Um, but I feel like I'm just naturally pretty good at self-care and like taking time away from everything, or scheduling something with friends or on my own if I need like the mental break. Um, so it's kind of hard to answer because I feel like it kind of just comes naturally to me. So I'm like, I don't know that, I've done anything specifically other than I do think separating the business in my mind from like my personal life has helped a lot because it naturally keeps that boundary. And of course, there's some personal things that I share on Instagram that kind of like toe that line. But for the most part, I'm like, okay, this is business, this is personal, and I try not to mix those two as much. And that's helped me to like maintain that boundary.
Right. And do you feel like it started with content? Because you mentioned time, like, and content. Like, okay, this is my work time, this is my family time, this is my work content, this is my family content. So it's like super, I think it's like really cool how you've done it. But to your point, sometimes when you're good at something, you're like, I don't know how I do
Yeah, I just
this.
do it. I don't know. Yeah,
My
it's
CRO is an incredible people manager, and I'm always like, how do you do that? And she's like, well, I just try to be fair. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Let me figure it out for you, and I'll tell you how you do it. Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about how you've gotten into, you went from swimsuits to pillowcases to home content. And tell me about like, have you always been good at like managing your house and keeping things organized and all that?
Um, yeah, I do feel like my mom's like the queen of organization. Like people who know my mom are like, your mom was like the Pinterest mom before there was Pinterest. Like she just, you know, always made things special. She's super organized. So I do feel like I inherited some of that and also kind of like learned from the best. But I do feel like I'm very um, driven by productivity and like finishing tasks. And so I think that's how I've tried to manage my home too, is like, okay, what are small tasks that I can complete and be super productive so that I have more free time, so that I have time to work on my business, or so I have time to read a book. And so I get like a high when I finish something, when I like check things off of a list. So I do feel like a lot of that has come naturally to me. Although in the very beginning, that was kind of a like mental block that I had to get over because speaking of like, sharing things that come easily to you, like I felt like in the beginning, the recipes I'm sharing, the content I'm sharing, like this is so dumb. Like this is so easy and simple. This isn't even a recipe. Like I have 3 cookbooks that I'm like, these are barely recipes. Like they could barely be called recipes because they're like throw together these 5 ingredients. But what I've learned over time is like that's what other moms need. Like moms need so simple. And even the things that I was like, I feel dumb sharing this, but like, this is just a small little product that has helped me with this or that, or this is a very simple idea that you can do for the, like, moms have a million things going around in their brain at all times that I feel like anything you can do to just take that mental burden off, out for them and like make something easier for them and like tell them exactly what to do. Like, no, you're going to go to Trader Joe's and you're going to get this and this and this, and you're going to put together a meal for your kids that they're going to love. Then they're like, oh, yeah, okay, I can do that. That feels doable because you've broken it down and it's like so simple, it almost feels dumb. But now I'm like, that's like all my content. Like, it's so simple and practical that it actually works, So that was kind of like a mental block that I had to get over in the beginning. But now I try to keep everything super simple and like bite-sized pieces.
I think it's one of those things, it goes back to your boundary comment. Like, you think, oh, everyone knows this. And I think that that usually is what no one knows,
Yeah,
or people don't think of it the way that you do. Yeah.
totally. Or they just need a reminder and they're like, oh, yeah, I did see that or hear that at one point. But yeah, I needed the reminder and now I'm actually going to do it.
Well, and I love how, back to the simplicity, like I don't cook, my husband cooks. And so when it is my turn to cook, I'm like, I don't, I have no, my brain is not using this part.
Yeah,
Like I'm not using this part of my brain.
100%.
So we're ordering DoorDash.
Yep.
But if I need to like go to a party or I need to do something, it's like so easy to jump on there and be like, okay, what can I do? What's the easiest thing? And you were always coming in clutch for that. But it kind
Oh,
of sounds
thanks.
like you're a type A girly who retired into another type A field a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
What were you like as a teenager? I'm so curious.
Oh gosh. It's
Wait,
funny because
what's your birth order?
so I'm second. I'm the second to
Okay.
oldest. I have one older sister who is like 18 months older than me. So we were always super close. Um, I actually, and this is one thing people are surprised about me as well. I don't know if you're very familiar with the Enneagram, but I'm an Enneagram 8. So I am like actually I love engaging in debate with people. Like I did debate. I went to like state debate when I was in fifth grade, and like I love a good argument. I have a brother-in-law who's like that too, and we're constantly like trying to find topics that we can be on opposite sides for so that we can just like battle it out and we don't get our feelings hurt. We just go at it, we debate each other. So I think most people would not think that I would be like that because I'm not super confrontational, but I do love like a good debate. I have very strong opinions. I can be very stubborn. I feel like I'm right most of the time, and I think I am, but it's something I'm working on. So I was a pretty good teen. I love to have fun. I was with my friends a lot, just a small group of friends, and loved to debate anyone in the family that would take me on.
Are, is there anyone in your close circle that hides in the corner when you start debating?
It's funny because I've realized my husband actually doesn't love the debating. So I have to pick and choose like who I debate with. And he's not super sensitive, but I think I hurt his feelings because he's like, will you ever just agree with me? And I'm like, you know what? I should, because I don't need someone to agree with me, but I'm like, most people want to be agreed with on certain things where I feel like I kind of take devil's advocate on most things.
Uh-huh.
So I'm working on that. I'm trying to be better at like, okay, I don't have to debate everything. I don't have to always show the other side. Sometimes he just wants me to agree with him, and I should be better about doing that. So my husband's kind of that person.
I totally off topic, but similar. We have a favorite things party that I do with some girlfriends every year, and it's just gotten out of control. But I love to stir the pot, and so it's like we play at Yankee Swap style. So someone gets it,
Hmm.
you can steal it twice. And I sometimes don't even want what I end up with, but I just want to steal. I want to steal it, and I want to stir the
Yeah.
pot.
Yep.
And I have one friend who last year it got super heated and there was a lot of debating going on, and she was like, I need to go home, I can't do this anymore. And so I have to watch myself too, because I don't necessarily love to debate, but I do love to uh take things
Yeah.
apart and see how they work and put them back together. And that's with anything
Yeah.
that we can talk
You
about. Yeah.
challenge things, you challenge ideas, and you probably, I mean, do you get offended when someone else does that? Because I like challenges you, or like does that, do you feel like you take offense at that, or do you have a thick skin when someone challenges you or tries to stir the pot and you're not the one stirring the pot?
No, I'm usually pretty good unless I haven't slept well,
Yeah.
then I'm not good.
Yeah.
But I'm usually pretty good. I love to, one of my favorite things is to realize that I was wrong and to kind of like be like, oh my gosh, if that's true, then what about all this other stuff that I thought was so clear or whatever?
Yeah.
You know, that's really fun to like just kind of like in Finding Nemo when you're like, oh, then brrr, all that all
Yeah.
of a sudden becomes different and interesting. Yeah.
That's good. I need to be better at that. But I feel like I do have a thick skin as well, and I can be challenged and not take offense. But I also have to realize not everyone is like that. Some people are deeply emotional about, and they don't like the kind of, not that it's contention, but like the challenging nature. If things get heated in a thing like a gift exchange, and like that doesn't bother me at all. But I'm like trying to be sensitive that it can bother some people. So
Yeah.
take it
Yeah. No,
easy.
the year after we were very caught, like, are you okay with this? Like,
Yeah.
getting her buy-in before I stirred the pot too much.
Yeah.
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 Um, how does that play out with your employees? And then how does it play out with your kids? I'm so interested now.
I am trying to be better in all. I don't really challenge employees as much. My kids, yes, but I'm like trying to, again, like I guess this is something I'm trying to work on in all aspects of my life, is like, because I always want to come approach a situation more with curiosity, and I'm trying to be better at that because I feel like it's important for my opinion to be heard, or to like bring up different points of view. I want people to like look at something from all perspectives. But I'm trying to be better about approaching or kind of like challenging things, but from a way of also validating whatever their thoughts are about that issue. Um, our work environment. So we have, in fact, I'm in my office space. We just got like an actual office space
It's
a
so
few months
cute.
ago. So it's been so fun to have a place for our team to go. Like we were just literally meeting in my tiny office in my home for a couple years. So we have three people that work full time, or not full time, part time, in person. And I have not actually voiced this publicly yet, but just a couple weeks ago, my husband officially left his corporate job, and retired out of that. And so he has started helping with the business and also just helping out more at home as well. So that's been exciting. Um, so I'm really, really proud of the team that we've built. Like we have um, a team of 7 right now, and we're hiring another person soon. And so I feel like they're just amazing. Like I talk to other people, and having employees and managing people can be like a huge um, struggle in a business, and like take a lot of energy and trying to find the right fit and the right people for the right jobs. And of course there's had to be some like shuffling around of things, but I am like so beyond grateful for the team that we have, because I feel like there's just no drama. We get things done. um anyway, that's kind of a tangent, but I feel like um I feel like my family, I'm maybe a little bit more of a challenger. With my team, I'm getting better at like receiving feedback. And it's almost like when someone presents this idea, my initial response is like, no, I want to do it my way. But I'm like, just taking a moment. I feel like if I can just like take a minute and then think about like, okay, actually that idea was good. What was their intention behind that? Like, how can we incorporate both? Um, so it's a lot of like internal practice to try to like be in integrity with who I am, but also not be like too brash in certain situations. And sometimes with my kids, it probably is more brash than it should be. But I'm trying to become better at the art of just apologizing after the fact. Like, okay, I came on too strong. Your opinion was valid. I wanted to make sure you saw things from a different point of view, but like maybe I came out guns blazing. So let's try again.
I feel like, I mean, having teenagers will humble you quicker than basically anything in your whole entire life.
Totally.
And then having employees is the same. And if you let it and you don't lose like your center, I think it's a super I feel like I've grown the most from those two things is like
Yeah.
allowing myself to be wrong, allowing myself to apologize, doing those two things quickly.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of like failing quickly, right? Like they
Yeah.
say, if you're going to fail, fail quickly. And you're failing over and over in your business, and you're failing over and over as a mom, and in your relationships. And so I think you're right. Like the faster you can do that and just get over it and move on, and also hopefully be learning as you go and like tweaking little things to become a little bit better, then you learn and you grow so much from those experiences.
Okay, so speaking of failure, do you have any big ones you want to share?
Oh my heavens. Yes, actually, I do. So there's been so many, and I don't know. I'm kind of the mindset that I'm like, everything that happened has led me to where I am, So I have learned so much from every failure, everything that went wrong. And I have so many entrepreneurial friends that have have quit, and it's because one failure takes you out, which I get. Like it's hard to fail sometimes, but you will be successful in a business, I feel like, if you just keep moving. Like a lot of it is just like pivoting, learning from the failures, failing fast, and, trucking along. Because most people are not successes overnight. Anyway, um, one failure that always stands out in my mind as like a huge business failure. So before we pivoted to content, when we still had these holiday pillowcases, and we had also added some other kind of celebration stuff. We had birthday shirts for kids. We had birthday plates. Like it was all super cute. Like I loved it. I loved the product. So we lived in Dallas at the time, and there was a Pinners conference coming to Dallas, and we thought, this is our perfect opportunity to sell a bunch of products. Like we're literally going to get thousands of moms, which are our target market, to walk in front of our booth. It's going to be amazing. Like this is our thing. Like I was so confident in that, just based on who I knew was coming to Pinners. I was very confident about the products that we had. So I kind of went all in on creating this booth. And I had these huge dreams of like, it's going to be a house, like it's going to be like the framing of a house. Like I got this kit to like put together. It was like a shed kit, so it had like the connecting pieces to be able to like basically build the framing of this shed, and that was going to be our booth. So we go the day before. My husband's helping me set it up. We had never actually built it. We just cut all the pieces to size, and then we were going to build it on site. Like we had no idea what we were doing. We get to Pinners, and of course we see like truckloads and teams of people with like all sorts of gear, and we're just over here, these two little like, young people not knowing what they're doing. So we're putting up this booth, and at one point, like it's mostly up, we have this whole ceiling roof structure. The whole thing slowly starts like tipping to the ground. This guy from another booth comes running over, and he's like holding it up, and we're just like, what do we do? Like this was our whole design. Like, do we scrap it and just put out a table, like a folding table? What do we do? Anyway, we were able to like get some more boards. We reinforced it. It looked super cute by the end, and like we used the house to display all of the shirts and everything. It was a disaster to put up, but once it was up, I had made this huge sign that had our logo on it. Like I was super proud of how the booth turned out. So then Pinners rolls around, and we're manning the booth, and we sold nothing. Like we did not, over the course of the 2 days, we didn't, I think we paid $900 for the booth space and maybe sold $800 worth of product. We didn't even break even. And I just couldn't believe, like people would walk past and they'd look at it and they'd say like, oh, that's so cute. But then like people were not buying anything. And we were right next to a booth that was selling like wood cutout signs, like unfinished wood cutouts of just like, home is where the heart is, and then you paint it on your own. And I was like, this feels super outdated, but people were buying stuff from them like crazy, and I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, these are our people, why is no one buying anything? And also, like, I have rheumatoid arthritis. And so, after those 2 days of building the booth and like literally being on our feet for 2 days straight, like my body was going into shock. It was like, what are you doing to me? I was like, this is going to kill me over. We didn't even break even. Like the booth was so cute. Like I just couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. Um, but I'm not one to like super dwell on things. So I was like, well, what we learned from that is pinners is not our thing. And we don't ever have to do that again. And I think it was even shortly after that that we kind of pivoted away from products in general. And even though like I couldn't really figure it out in my mind because I still loved the product and I thought it was awesome, I had to like take that information in and just say, you know what? For whatever reason, this is not working. And we're not going to do trade shows and we're not going to do these products. And so we just let those go and kept moving forward.
It's those I've had many of those situations. Listen, like where you set up and you're sure everything's going to sell, and then it doesn't sell, and then the metaphorical wood signs down the road, like they can't keep them
Yeah.
in stock. They can't even go to the bathroom. They're so busy.
Yeah.
And you're like, huh, what am I missing? You know?
Yeah.
But I think I love, love, love how you're like, what are we learning from this? Like your body hurts, your heart hurts, everything hurts, but what do we
Hmm.
learn? And then you
Yeah.
quickly move on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a failing fast scenario. You know, like there was not even a question. Like I think if it would have been like, okay, we did okay, but like we made a little bit of profit, like I'm glad it was just an utter failure because we knew right after it was done, we don't ever have to do that again, which I was like so grateful for. And of course, it doesn't feel good to fail, you know, and to think that something's going to be a huge success and it's not. But I think if it would have gone like semi well, we maybe would have been like, well, should we do that again? Like it was just a clear no, which sometimes is a gift as well, that you just know right from the get go, okay, that's not the path that's going to work for us. So let's pivot to something else.
Would you now go with your books?
Oh my heavens. I had someone ask me that. They're like, your books would make a killing at Pinners. And I'm like, oh, PTSD. I don't know if I could. Maybe if someone else ran the booth or like set it up. But I'm like, that was so like, that was such a clear no that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can ever do that
I I think it'd do amazing, but what do I know? You know, not much.
again.
Okay, so what are some big things you what are sorry, not big. What are you guys working on? What's next?
So it's been really fun to create the cookbooks. I feel like that was a product where it was years of content in the making before I even wanted to do a cookbook. I started sharing these one-stop meals. Every Monday, it was just like, okay, what's stuff from Costco that you can go get and make a meal so that you don't have to go anywhere else. You can just get it at Costco. And I started doing the same thing for Trader Joe's. And that's the beautiful thing about social media and Instagram is like you're getting instant feedback from your audience. So I realized quickly people love this. Like people are loving this idea. This needs to turn into something. And I think I'd always wanted to do something printed. I thought about doing like a magazine. I thought about doing like I don't know, a few different like iterations. But then once this One Stop Meal series kind of started taking off, I thought, okay, this is it. Like, this is the cookbook idea. And someone had actually, a publisher had reached out to me about creating a Costco One Stop Meals cookbook, and which I was very flattered about. But once I kind of dove into that and realized, okay, they want to do like a soft cover paperback, I'm going to be making basically $1 from each sale of the book, plus they're going to be still relying on me selling the book. I was like, I know this is going to do well. I'm going all in. I'm going to self-publish. I want to have control over the content. I want to have control over how the book is published, what it looks like, all the imagery in the book. So I'm so glad that we went that route. And I'm also like so excited about all of the ideas that I have for cookbooks. So we've got our Costco One Stop Meals, Trader Joe's One Stop Meals, school lunch cookbook. And then this year we are launching a hosting cookbook, a guide to hosting, which will just be um, like seasonally broken down. And there's like 6 kind of events or different things each season that you can host, plus all the recipes that you need for those events. And then I'm going to start working on a college cooking cookbook, a slow cooker cookbook. Like I just have so many ideas for these
College
cookbooks.
cooking is what, just air fryer? That's what my daughter bought.
Pretty much, like very low equipment,
Yeah.
like,
She has a
recipes for
microwave,
one. Yeah,
a
like
mini
low
fridge,
equipment,
and an air fryer.
low. An air fryer, you can do a lot with an air
You can
fryer.
do a
I
lot
mean,
of stuff.
it's one of my favorite kitchen tools as of late. So, yeah, and as my daughter, my daughter, my oldest is a junior, so I'm like, she's going to be in that scene soon, and I would have loved a college cookbook as, a new college student. So I have so many ideas for different cookbooks that I want to do, and I just love that whole process. It's insane and it's stressful and it's wild, but also because we've seen so much success selling those in retail locations and boutiques and little bookstores. Like I think the future of that is just wide open. So we're putting a lot of our resources into that. So that's something I'm super excited about and that we're putting a lot into. And then I think just um I feel like this is our year for like building and getting our team like a really strong team and just not even hiring a ton of people, but with the team we currently have, just really getting everyone into the right roles. And I feel like we're finally like creating systems that help everything flow really well. Everyone is working in their zone of genius. And like that's just a really fun thing to be a part of. So it's something that we're like really kind of getting better at this year.
Are you still self-publishing?
We are. Yep. Yeah, we plan to likely self-publish all of them. I mean, you can't beat the profit margin, and that I own the content. Like with the publisher, they would have owned all the content. I wouldn't have been able to share it on my blog, on Instagram. Um, and I'm like, what if I want to do an app someday? Like what if I want to turn these into something else? I want to be able to own it. So,
Are
so
you
that's the plan for now.
getting them made in China?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like I work for I'm one of the owners of Good News Brand, and honestly, like it's so easy to manufacture your own books. It's like so
it
easy,
is.
surprisingly.
Surprisingly easy. And we looked at some um, US like, printers and stuff like that because I didn't know anything about printing. So I'm like, well, let's just vet out and look at, different options. It was like 4 times as expensive and the quality was like a fraction of the quality that we could get overseas. So it just is what
Yeah.
it is. Like they've done a great job. It's really inexpensive. Their printing, capabilities are just far superior to ours.
Yeah, we found that when we went to Vietnam to visit our manufacturer. I was blown away by their eons ahead in manufacturing.
Yeah.
And then are you going to do other product too?
Yeah, so I mean we always do like a calendar. It's always this, yeah, debate because I always have so many ideas of like things I want to create, but I'm like, oh, I don't want to spread myself too thin or create these products that are just almost distracting from our main product, which is the cookbooks. Um, but we're actually just starting to work on a product that is kind of goes along with, I share a lot of like practical gift ideas for something to take to a baby shower, something to take to, a meal to take to another family, or just like a teacher gift, all these different things. And I feel like one pain point with moms is like, they want to create these nice gifts. A lot of people don't even have a printer. Like a lot of people don't have a printer, or they don't have a color printer, or they don't carry cardstock. So we're working on putting together like a printed book of basically all of these like gift tags or different printables that you could use for like a lot of different gifting occasions. Even like you want to boo your neighbors for Halloween, but like you have to print off 3 of those things and then make the treats and put it on their doorstep. So we haven't like fully honed in the idea, but something like that would just like address that pain point that moms have of like, I don't have a printer, I can't print stuff, but I want to do these cute things. Um, because I feel like every product that we do create now, I'm very aware of like trying to make sure it solves a very specific problem. Like we're not a novelty business, and the content that I create is very based around solving specific problems and pain points that moms have. So I think for the products to do well, they have to also hit those same, like, what's the problem we're solving here? What's the pain point?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Also, we don't have a printer at home because I have a printer at my office.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have tags as I was wrapping gifts a week ago for someone. I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
so I write with marker. Not cute,
Yeah.
but whatever.
It works.
It works. I am who I am these days, so whatever. Well, Brittney, this is awesome. I love talking to you. I think you're just so smart and so pragmatic, and I love that you've turned that into a business. It's like so inspiring.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's fun to chat with you and fun to chat the business side. I feel like I don't do that very much on Instagram. So I love talking to other business owners and especially female business
Oh,
owners. So
same. Girls
it's
all
the
the way.
best.
Girl power. Yes.
For sure.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You're the best. I'll
You're
talk to
very
you later.
welcome. So good to talk with you.
Bye.
Bye.